On December 15th, 2024, we've got a full moon in Gemini. This happens at 4:02 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. Calculate that for your own time zone. This one is extra Gemini because the ruler of Gemini, Mercury, stations direct in Sagittarius later that day. So we get this really like double whammy energy of Gemini and Mercury. Now, Gemini is the sign of the twins. I'm wearing my Gemini t-shirt here, which really emphasizes that twinning. But it's important to note that twinning doesn't always mean identical. Sometimes you get a paradox. Sometimes you get opposites where, you have the good twin and the evil twin, or situations that show up where, because there's so much similarity, the contrast actually is more exaggerated. So we may see more of that around this time. I know I'm seeing in more my medical intuitive practice a lot of visual issues. I myself have had some dry eyes, but I've been hearing from people that have had double eye surgery, people that have binocular dysfunction, people that are having just all sorts of different vision diagnoses. And my sense is that that's because we're living in this kind of liminal space, right? Like the old world is kind of not with us anymore. Everybody sort of senses that, but the new isn't quite here yet either. And of the signs of the zodiac, Gemini actually helps us with those liminal spaces. Mercury, the ruler, is a psychopomp. He was the only god that was allowed to go in and out of the underworld without permission. He could just lead people and go in and out as he wished. And so that kind of brings an energy of us being a little more permeable, us being able to hold a space of both and. And so as we're having this kind of super Gemini energy in mid-December, it can really assist with some of that paradox that, the rational brain might be having a little trouble integrating. So it is a rational sign. Gemini is a sign of communication, and we do have some sort of odd alignments with outer planets and asteroids at this time. So there is a square to Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's right around 27 Pisces. This full moon is in late 23 Gemini with the sun in late 23 Sagittarius. So we get this square happening there, a T-square with the lunar axis. And, squares, a lot of people don't like them. I find that you just have to maybe work a little harder to integrate those energies. And so Neptune being more about intuition and the higher realm, the negative sides of Neptune would be deception, illusion, delusion. So you do want to kind of watch for, a little pie in the sky kind of thinking, maybe not the best to sign a firm contract on December 15th, because even though Mercury Retrograde is ending, we've still got the shadow period for a while. And oftentimes when a planet is stationing either retrograde or direct, the energies are magnified. And so we could see the positive, a lot of intuitive insights coming in, a lot of inspiration coming in. Great time for creative projects. It just might be a time where if you're trying to sign a contract, really dot those I's and cross those T's, but maybe just put it off for a little bit so that the energies are more conducive to accuracy. It's a great day for bringing in the brainstorming, bringing in the ideas, but again, maybe not the best for those, nailing down the details. So another energy that we've got with this full moon and an outer planet is Uranus and Taurus quincunxing the sun point in Sagittarius. Now, Uranus is considered the higher octave of Mercury, and so also with communication, with revolution, with rebellion, we get that kind of liberation energy with Uranus. But we also, in context of a Gemini full moon, there is this energy of higher level insights coming in, kind of like that lightning bolt strike of intuition, as opposed to more the emotional, dreamy, empathic kind of, ooh, I have this feeling with the Neptune energy. So watch for both, because both that lightning strike of intuition and that more dreamy, flowy, watery, emotional Neptune kind of intuition could come through on that day. And then coming in from Aquarius, right around 25 degrees Aquarius, we've got asteroid Psyche. And she is also associated with intuition. I often find that in synastry, so how people's charts kind of dance together, that Psyche shows up as a point of telepathy. And so again, with those kind of intuitive messages, really pay attention to what's coming through. Are you hearing something from your soul? Psyche is really tied in with the soul, but also, again, that kind of telepathic communication, that kind of out of this world, bringing in awareness. Could be some interesting stuff that happens around the time of this full moon. So we've also got a nice trine to Mars in Leo with the Mercury direct point. So Mars at this point is retrograde in Leo, right around 5 degrees, and Mercury is stationing direct between 6 and 7 degrees of Sagittarius. So we get this fire sign, supportive, 120-degree trine. And that's good for passion. That's good for, it can be good for taking action. With the Mercury retrograde energies still kind of in effect, then, that action might get a little bit delayed. But we do have a grand trine, a looser grand trine in fire to the North Node in early Aries. So the North Node's at 2 degrees Aries. And so we get that grand trine in fire, and we've been having a lot of these lately. They really emphasize passion. They give us the energy to kind of forge ahead. So pay attention to that kind of energy. With Mars retrograde, it can slow some things down. Mars is going to be in Leo until January 6th, when Mars goes retrograde still into Cancer, and that's going to be a super highly charged day, very intense energies in the US on January 6th, but also just in general, because on the way out of Leo into Cancer, Mars will be exactly opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So very highly charged energies that day, but just in terms of this full moon, we could see that the energies are actually more supportive. If you find that information comes through and the doors are open for you to act on it, it's a time to take action fast. Sometimes that fire sign energy is quick. And so even though some of the energies aren't perfect in terms of moving forward, if your energies are opening up, then do take the action if you feel led. So again, pay attention to these intuitive nudges that come through. It may not be the time to take immediate action, just because that Mercury energy could still be a little wonky and with the square to Neptune. But if your intuition says to act, do it. We do have that kind of support when those doors open. And with the grand trine in fire, oftentimes it is kind of like a flash in the pan, something very quick where you do need to take the action sooner rather than later. So something to keep in mind. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name's Laura Bruno, and I do intuitive astrology, medical intuition, tarot, lots of different modalities, but mostly astrology for the YouTube channel. So in terms of tarot, the card most associated with Gemini is actually the Lover's card. And you can see here the Rider-Waite version. There's an angel at the top. Sometimes it's shown with Cupid. But this idea of orchestrated relationships, kind of twin soul type things, but also where you have your opposites attract, your counterpart in another person. Within ourselves, we have a masculine and feminine dynamic, a kind of twinning within ourselves, anima, animus. That kind of energy could come up more at this time. So, pay attention to that. The Sabian symbol for this full moon is, we round up, Gemini 24, children skating over a frozen village pond. So there is this kind of like return to innocence. Gemini is a very playful sign. There's a lot of energy, not a real serious sign. If you don't like something, make a deal, make a shift. Sometimes just a tiny pivot allows you to be on a very different trajectory. And with the children skating on the frozen pond here in the northern hemisphere, especially where I am in Michigan, we've got a lot of snow and ice. So there's that kind of winter wonderland energy and, like the newness, the freshness, the playfulness, childlike energy available at this time. Kind of nice because the energies have been super heavy in 2024, you may have noticed. They're still going to be kind of heavy towards the end of the year. We'll have still a tight square of Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces that can kind of slow things down a little bit, but overall, this particular full moon is kind of a bright spot in December, so take advantage of that. The stationing direct point for Mercury in Sagittarius is also interesting in terms of the Sabian symbol. Sagittarius 7 degrees, again, round up. Cupid knocks at the door of a human heart. And so with that lover's card energy, this idea of orchestrated relationships, and they're not always romantic, but with that Sabian symbol, you might see that Cupid's got his arrow out there doing some repositioning of people. So do pay attention to your dreams, especially if they seem like they may have like a precognitive or psychic component to them. I always recommend everybody keep a dream journal, even if you don't dream regularly. You will tend to dream more and remember them better if you keep a dream journal. But if you notice that, sometimes you have those dreams where it's just kind of replaying your day, right? Just a lot of kind of noise, but sometimes you still get a lot of insights with that. In terms of mid-December, you're going to want to pay attention to dreams that have a different feel to them. And you'll know if it feels like, oh, this is my dream, or if this is a collective dream, if this feels something bigger, or if you start to notice that some of the things in your dreams start showing up in waking life, that could be some of that Uranian quincunx to the sun. That is going to be in effect for several days in mid-December. And especially if it hits something in your chart, if you've got anything in kind of late Taurus, or if you've got anything in, like 20 to 30 degrees of Sagittarius, then that kind of energy is really going to be stirring things up, and it could be quite psychic. So I hope that this helps to kind of put things into perspective. There are some things to be aware of as we're moving through the rest of December. I will be putting out a Capricorn new moon video closer to that time, but just a heads up as you're making holiday plans. December 29th, Chiron stations direct in Aries right at exactly 19 degrees Aries. That's the same degree, not the same minute, but the same degree as the April 8th eclipse. So have a look back then. If that time period went very well for you, then that probably bodes well for Chiron stationing direct, because that eclipse was exactly conjunct Chiron in Aries. But if that was kind of a difficult or painful time period for you, just be aware that those energies could get stirred up again around the 29th. And then we've got that new moon in Capricorn, also known as a black moon, because it will be our second new moon of the month. That happens on the 30th. And then, as I said, like from mid-December really through the beginning of the year, we do have that tighter square and going exact right around Christmas with Jupiter and Saturn. So Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces. And so just a heads up, this is a weird year for holidays. I know I'm hearing from a lot of people that are kind of skipping them or just like really laying low. If you feel led to do it that way, no shame, no pressure, anything. The energies are weird this year. They will start to really shift in 2025, especially in mid-January. But here we are. And again, this could be a bright spot around December 15th if you work those energies, especially if you work the energies with that Neptune square, and if you've had creative projects that have been stuck, if you have been in need of spiritual assistance or in need of other kinds of information that could be helpful for you, do really pay attention to things that come up around the time of this full moon. All right, I'm wishing you guys all the very best. Peace.